Hey, good morning, friends. Today is Monday, April the 14th, 2025, and the time now is 10:38 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk briefly about Liberation Day, and I'm talking about Liberation Day in the United States as Donald Trump declared last week. I want to talk about the war that is happening between the United States and the rest of the world, and most specifically the United States and China. Friends, you are watching the playlist series The Trends and Headlines in Geopolitics, and this is episode 34. Once again, friends, you are watching the playlist series The Trends and Headlines in Geopolitics, and this is episode 34. So, friends, last week and the week before, Donald Trump came out swinging hard at the rest of the world, basically imposing tariff or taxes on the rest of the world, about 180 or so countries and places around the world. And countries, leaders all over the world have been retaliating or responding to what Donald Trump is doing. Now, I have stated in several videos that what Donald Trump is doing by him imposing tariff on the rest of the world, I believe that it is a strategy. It is Donald Trump's attempt to destroy the world's economy or the economies of various countries around the world, especially the weaker countries around the world. Destroy their economies, destroy their system, and force them to capitulate in various ways to the United States. So far, since Donald Trump declared the war, the trade war against the rest of the world, many countries and leaders have responded. Even the leader of Singapore, the Prime Minister of Singapore, delivered his speech to the Singaporean Parliament, which is an amazing speech, which I am going to talk about one of these days in one of my programs. Now, once again, I believe that that was Donald Trump's policy or his strategy. Destroy the economy of the rest of the world or the economies of specific countries, whether we are talking about the weaker and powerless countries or countries such as China that could be a competitor to the United States or that are competitors to the United States, and then forcing them to capitulate. Basically, the United States and the West have cultivated in the minds of countries and leaders around the world fear of the West to the point where all the United States and the West has to do is snap and the rest of the world basically bow. Now, in terms of the trade war between China and the United States, so friends, it is very interesting because last week Donald Trump imposed a 34% tariff on China, and the Chinese retaliated, imposing a 34% tariff of their own on the United States. As a result, the United States basically threw tantrum, imposing 50% and a total of 104% tariff on China, to the point where Donald Trump even stressed that they are doing it because the Chinese retaliating instead of the Chinese just sitting back and letting the United States and Donald Trump doing whatever. And friends, Donald Trump has gone as far as referring to the Chinese or China as disrespectful, which in international relations that is undemocratic, at least in the manner in which Trump has imposed tariff on China and on the rest of the world. When Donald Trump imposed the 104% on China, the Chinese raised their tariff percentage to 84%, which when I saw that, I was alarmed because it was surprise because the fact that even though Donald Trump raised the American or the United States tariff on China to 104%, the Chinese only raised China's tariff on the United States to 84%. So I question myself, why is it that the Chinese are not raising their tariff percentage on the United States to 104% to equalize things? And then I was able to come to a conclusion that perhaps the Chinese were doing that because they did not want to through the kitchen sink. The Chinese did that because they did not want to unveil their hands. They did not want to just throw everything that they have on the United States. They want to do it gradually. While for the most part, the United States, as we saw with Russia, where the United States bombarded Russia with lots of sanction to the point where the Russians don't care because they are saying now, what can you do to us that you haven't done to us? So perhaps that's what the Chinese are doing because Donald Trump is just going off with tariff. However, when China raised the tariff percentage on the United States to 84%, Donald Trump raised US tariff on China from 104% to 125%. As a result, friends, China reciprocated or retaliated, however you want to say it, and raising China's tariff on the United States from 84% to 125%. As of now, it seems that it is an equalized battle. The Chinese are not going to back down. The Americans are not going to back down. It seems this is going to escalate. In terms of China, all they have to do is just play safe, just relax. The United States seems to be the aggressor here. And to an extent where the United States is being seen around the world as childish. And the result of this is that when Donald Trump imposed the taxes or tariff on the rest of the world, it led to economies and stock markets in the United States and throughout the world to plummet. As a result, Donald Trump basically backtracked and paused tariff on every country, limit the tariff to a base 10% and pause everything else. However, Donald Trump raised the tariff on China to 125%. So as of now, every other country in the world has imposed on them a 10% base tariff by the United States, and there is a pause on tariff. While for China, Donald Trump has raised China's tariff or the United States tariff on China to 125%. Now, friends, to be honest, it makes the United States seems petty. It makes China look stronger and brave. Because, friends, as I've said in several videos, China is appearing to be the only country brave enough, strong enough to take on the United States. And they are showing that they are not going to back down. In fact, last week, the Chinese government made a statement saying that the United States is blackmailing China and that China is not going to back down, that China is going to fight till the end. Donald Trump has done stupid things, and now Donald Trump and his White House are saying that the pausing on tariff was a strategy to provide other countries the opportunity to negotiate with the United States. So as of now, the pause on tariff is supposed to take place for about 90 days or 3 months. The truth here is, I believe that Donald Trump basically is backtracking because he realized that he had made a stupid mistake. That if he moved forward, he is going to crumble. He is going to destroy the United States economy. However, he doesn't want to acknowledge or to accept the fact, that he is guilty and he had done something stupid. However, friends, in terms of the battle between the United States and China, Donald Trump is not going to back down because right now it is about saving face. China is the only country, the biggest, the largest country, the most powerful country, brave enough and strong enough among nations to take on the United States economically, and one of the strongest militarily, technologically, to take on the United States. Donald Trump has to continue to demonstrate strength and power. As a result, Donald Trump has to continue to go at China. Therefore, I believe that the situation between China and the United States in terms of the tariff war is going to continue, and the Chinese are not going to back down. However, it is very stupid, I believe, that Donald Trump came out swinging, declaring war on the rest of the world at the same time, declaring war on China at the same time while the United States is at war with Russia. At the same time, while Donald Trump recently disrespected Vladimir Zelensky and stating during the meeting with Zelensky at the White House that He gave Ukraine javelin to fight the Russians, basically admitting that he did contributed to Ukraine's war effort against Russia. So Donald Trump is doing nothing right now but destroying the wealth, the power, the prestige, the might of the United States. He is enabling the exponential rise of institutions such as BRICS, the African Union, ECOWAS, CARICOM, and other international finance, economic, infrastructure, and regional black institutions all over the world. Because countries around the world are going to continue to acknowledge the fact that their interaction with the United States is unsustainable. In terms of the war, China is coming out strong because the United States is looking petty, it's looking senseless, and friends, it is seeming to be that the United States imposition of 125% tariff on China, while the United States has paused tariff on the rest of the world. It's nothing but childish. It's an attack on China, and nothing but an attack on China, which to many countries and institutions and people around the world, it is foolish, it is senseless, and it is unfair. And in this case, friends, I believe that everything is going to work in China's favor. And as for Donald Trump and the United States, everything is going to blow back against Donald Trump and the United States. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. But friends, I'm going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.